Hi, you guys. This is Richard Sachs, your host on Lost Arts Radio, and this is Lost Arts Radio Live for Saturday, October 24th, 2020. Although the year is being used up very fast, it was just January a few minutes ago, in my opinion, and it's moving really faster and faster. So we get a show tonight that's a treat for me because we have our friend Celeste Solum back, who's a former insider at FEMA, who's very good at interpreting both documents and world events and seeing what's coming up in the near future and the meaning of what's happened recently. So we get to talk about that for a short time with you this afternoon. And welcome, Celeste. I'm really happy that you're here. Thank you.
It's nice to be here. Thanks, Richard.
So it's been a little while since you were here last time, and there are some developments happening. I'm not going to, be totally cynical and pessimistic, but realistically, the escalation of tyranny is accelerating considerably. And it seems like for some reason they've chosen places like New Zealand and Australia to be the first beta test of certain protocols that they're planning to move closer and closer to the US and then use them here. Recently also, there have been some really major developments in the Canadian tightening of the noose. And I saw on video a parliamentary meeting that I'm sure you saw where somebody was asking the question about the concentration camps that they were, the isolation camps that they were building. Nothing similar, of course. And they have requests for proposals out, and they have had for a couple of weeks, I guess, for contractors to build those camps all over the country. And the member of parliament was actually willing to ask a question about it, which I guess takes incredible courage. And he stood up and said, how many people are you going to put in the camps? And obviously it's not just for the horrible pandemic that we're experiencing, but for an undisclosed number of other purposes too. And would you specify more? And they said, they cut off his mic and said, next question, which was pretty interesting. So there's some things developing there too. I guess Canada's a little bit ahead of us, but it's getting more and more challenging to say what's really going on the air because people tend to disappear. And I think most of them are still physically alive, but they're not present on major internet platforms anymore. And I don't know how to say nothing and be accurate at the same time. I'm still working on that. So what do you think?
I think the secret is you just have to find the right platforms because there is still some freedom, but it's not the general free platforms that most of the viewers are used to. There are private platforms like your platform and my platform, and let's see, Mike Adams has a private platform. So those are the platforms that pretty much you can talk about anything uncensored, at least at this point. We don't know when they're going to pull the plug on that, but at least for now, we can pretty much speak our mind and tell what's going on. And I don't think that I had this experience before, like the last time we spoke. So I went a few weeks ago on my run to Missoula. Of course, you know that I was banned from the health food store, but then I'm banned from all stores and I can't even call management because they put my name in the database, and it is as if I ring all these stores and they don't ever answer. Right. So they've got a blocker on, for me to contact anybody and complain or anything. But when I was down there, I was going by a mortuary, and I found that this was really kind of interesting because all we hear about is the particulates in the air. The humans are causing all this environmental climate change in this. And out of this mortuary, and I want you to know, I don't live in the city, but I do visit the city frequently because that's where I have to get supplies. Mm-hmm. There was a smokestack of burning bodies. They were burning bodies, and it was just billowing like industrial size burning facility. This was not one body. This was many bodies that they were burning, and it was just big, this big, huge industrial, I don't know what you call those things, shafts or I don't know what you call them anyway, and it was billowing up into the air, black, black, black smoke.
And this was at the mortuary you're talking about?
Yes, it was at the mortuary, but this was huge. It was a huge stack, and it was huge, and it just kept going and billowing and filling the air. And I just thought that they're burning a lot of bodies in
So
there.
where do you think they came from?
I don't know. You know, it's been all quiet on the Western Communist Front, or Socialist, Socialist Front in Missoula. You know, you don't get much news there.
Right.
You just have to ask questions in your mind and document. At this point, I would suggest that every person do several things. Have a body camera or a phone that you know how to tape a conversation. If somebody comes to your door, if you have an encounter, you need to have some type of recording device. And because many people are not, officials are not giving their names, you want to get their faces so that if you needed to, there would be some way of doing that. I've mentioned my public servant questionnaire, if you can get them to do that. I would deadbolt your house. If you have a deadbolt lock, I would do that now. If you have any possibility of surveillance equipment, like cameras and that type of thing, make sure they're charged up, and make sure that they're in working order. And if you don't have one, consider even investing in an inexpensive surveillance, even if it's just your front door, so that you know who is at the front door without you opening that front door. I would not answer any surveys right now, because I think they're mining information and you really don't know where the answers are going. So I would be really leery of that.
You're talking about surveys about your opinions on things and stuff like that?
Yeah, and they can be quite personal. They can, if it's the American survey that's associated with the census, they can ask who's sexually active, what's the vaccination status, what are the ages of your children, and where is their location in your house. They also want that for the fire departments have been told that you really should file your emergency plan, who's where in your house and where things are in your house in case of a disaster. So these are mining operations, and only like a rock would give them that, but I'm just letting people know that it's not benevolent.
Have they been asking that where you live too, at your house?
Yes.
So they go all the way out in the country to do that?
Well, the census, FEMA teamed up with the census, and I got this like 2 weeks ago. I got this bang, bang, bang. I have a bear door because I have grizzly, you know?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And they come up on the door. And so because there was this, I could discern this anger, you know, I didn't answer the door. And so I said, who is it? And he goes, it's the census guy, and I want to get you off the rolls. And I said, one, and he goes, all right. He goes, how old are you? And I said, that's none of your business how old I am. And I said, all I have to do is enumerate one. And he went off in a huff. But, you know, I didn't have to answer what my age is. But what these census people will do is go to your neighbors and start asking personal questions about, you know, oh, do they have somebody over there? You know, they get chit-chatty or whatever. And they get as much information. And in the old days, that was good. I mean, I've done genealogy on my family, and I found out all sorts of interesting things. But we live in a very dangerous time, and it's not safe or wise to give out any information at all, except to your close friends.
Right, exactly. And what about the, I guess the next stage of that is the testing, right? The roving testing.
The testing, actually you can get test kits at Costco now.
Uh-huh.
And that I believe that they have begun rolling out the vaccination. I do believe that it's stealth at this point because they know that the people are not on board. So what they're going to do is give a large number of vaccinations and then say, oh, see, it's safe. Well,
Right.
we'll have to take their word for it. And they'll have said, oh, but we've been doing this for a month. So, and there hasn't been any problems whatsoever.
And
So,
whoever died from the vaccines actually died from other things anyway.
right. A reverse of the COVID. Yeah.
Yeah, they were about to die, so they can't be included.
Yes.
What about contact tracing? Do you know anything about what's developing with that?
So I had a guest on that maybe you could have on that works in public health. He has to be anonymous, of course.
Right.
And he actually had some pretty good tips. And if somebody calls you with contact tracing, if you've been pinged, and they say, and they start asking you questions like, do you have a fever or this or that? You can say either I don't remember, you have the right to say I don't recall or I don't know, and you can also say, and I thought this was very interesting, I don't feel safe answering that question.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
That would turn their own program on them, right?
Yes.
Because
and so
anybody who makes somebody else feel uncomfortable is guilty of major crimes at this point anyway.
Yes, absolutely. So that was his recommendation, and I thought it was excellent to just say whatever question they say, I don't really feel safe answering that question.
It's better because if you say I don't remember, you may not be aware of this, but amnesia is one of the big symptoms of COVID.
Oh, I know. Yes.
Anyway, interesting. And it's all complicated by the fact that there's no test for the virus. I think that's the one thing that if it ever got out would have an impact.
Yeah, it was amazing because those tests at Costco run, I think it's $159 to $350 per test.
Yeah.
And you don't even know what they're testing for. Well, actually, it goes into the quantum computer, and then they have all your personal information.
And you should do it again every time you have contact with a person, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. They want children to have it every day. So
that's not bad, $300 a day. No. In fact, if you get a good new job as a contact tracer or something like that, you could pay for it.
Yes, maybe they get theirs for free. I don't know.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, that's true. One of the perks of the job. So, what do you expect to be the next sign? And before you say that, what do you think about this development that I mentioned in Canada, where they're taking proposals to build all these camps all over the whole country? I guess they don't have the FEMA camps there yet, so they need new ones.
Yeah, but they can do conversions. I personally think that it is I saw this once in between Hurricane Katrina and the hurricane afterwards that hit Texas. There was this big thing. It was when Homeland Security first came into being, and they said, FEMA said, well, we couldn't respond because we gave all of our money and supplies to the new DHS, and that's why they couldn't respond. And it was just this thing of this type of thing to get money. And I believe that they have the plans for conversion projects. It's been that way for decades, to turn these big box buildings into they're public reception centers.
Yeah.
Reception centers.
Well, and some of them could be fun camps though, right?
Well, yeah, they're fun because it's just like Soylent Green. They show you the movie and you're ushered into the next life,
Yeah, exactly. It's really exciting. So it's hard to believe that they haven't figured out that they needed to build the camps in Canada yet, that they're just now thinking about it. That seems
I think that it's just a rob Peter to pay Paul. It's a money thing. Okay. So I do believe that they do have the camps, and I'm getting reports about troops, lots of heavy troop movement, Chinese troop movement. I would expect some Muslim activity also. So things are heating up. Whether that will boil down into the United States from Canada, or if this is just specifically for Canadians, I'm really not sure.
Yeah, and this is all, of course, corresponding with the period leading up to the election in the U.S. too, right? It's a big part of it, it seems like.
Yeah.
And the period after it as well.
Yeah, it's interesting, I'll tell you. And we've got this big weather front, this cold weather. And what a lot of people may not realize is that cold, dry weather precipitates pneumonia. And then, of course, they're going to say,
that's perfect.
Oh, it's COVID.
Right,
But they've known for decades that a cold weather like this, cold and dry, is make a lot of people get pneumonia. So
this would be officially the third wave. Have we finished the second wave yet?
No, because we have to have the official lockdown, and we haven't had the lockdown.
So there hasn't really been the second wave.
No, it's brewing right now.
Okay.
Can't you I know you probably don't have time in your busy schedule to look at all the mainstream headlines, but the cases are spiking.
The cases are terrifying, I know.
They're just shooting up like fireworks,
Yeah, especially in the places where people try to get together to like sing songs in church or things like that. Those are super spreader events. And anything talking about protesting the lockdown, that tends to spread COVID really fast.
And now they are starting to shut schools down because, that's where people go to vote.
Oh, that's right. That's right. So more people need to do the mail-in, basically.
Yes.
And it also opens up buildings to be used for other things, like you're saying.
Yeah.
So what do you expect let's see, we're giving this on the 24th and the election is on the 3rd, right? So 31 days in October, we've got something around 10 days left, 10 or 11 days.
So I only have one trip left to the city, but pretty much I've got everything that I need. I am going to be debolting my house, and when I go out for any reason, I am going to be carrying.
Yeah.
It just isn't safe to not,
Yeah, exactly. And of course, the main safety procedure is avoid the worst places if you can, right? Just stay away from them.
Well, I hear even in our town, I went to pick up some mail the other day. And I mean, I live in the wilderness and there is no town here. And so the postmistress whispered to me and she said, well, I'll just hunker down here, but it's pretty quiet here. This is, the Swan Valley. It's a vacation destination. And she leaned over and she goes, oh, you should see what's happening at the bars. So I guess if you get into a political discussion at the bars, it's a free for all because this is the Wild West,
Okay. I thought maybe she saw a person without a mask or something like that.
No, this is a political discussion.
Okay. So what's the mask situation like where you are?
Oh, I can't go anywhere. I'm at the point that I am having to go 100% online. And I know that that's temporary for only a few weeks. They probably want to get my Christmas money or whatever. Right. And then I will be cut off because it won't be safe because I'm not compliant.
Yeah. Well, when you get cut off from online things for not being compliant, how does that work? How do they find out?
So it depends if the vaccine is deployed or not. So back in 2006, there was a military exercise and I was forensically documenting things even back then. And they actually could tell if you were vaccinated because they have markers, they have tags. It's a particular dye that they use, and they can tell from satellites or drones. So you can be in the comfort of your home and you're with your slippers on and you're watching Netflix, and they can tell who's vaccinated and who's not, and how many people to bring for enforcement purposes.
Wow, yeah. So that doesn't seem like a very good omen for the future. I mean, on the face of it, really. Jeff Berwick, who's banned, I think, from a lot of the major platforms now, had a really good video, maybe one of his very recent ones, talking about the Canadian situation that I mentioned, but also saying that further explanation about that is that people would get to go live in the isolation centers or the fun camps if they didn't comply, and they just live there indefinitely.
Well, no, that's only for a couple weeks, and while you're processed, and they find room for you in the smoky bed or something.
Right.
Because I was actually looking at something, and a terrible thought, but sometimes you wonder if things come across your path for a reason. So there's 3 humane ways to kill somebody. Gassing is one, and get paid for it. And that's important these days for those that are in that business. The guillotine, and then sticking somebody with a sharp object, which is a needle. That is considered humane also. But what I was looking at is, so I get this thing in my email from academia that talked about the decapitation process by the Aztec Indians, and that, a lot of people have said, just march me up to the guillotine, I'm not taking the vaccine. They're brave for that, but what I saw today was blood curdling, because they flay your body, and I'm wondering if this is what they're going to do. And they do this mask ritual where they take your face and remove it before you get your before you're guillotined. So it was pretty gruesome, and I wondered, because so many people have taken such a strong stand and said, I would rather be guillotined than take this vaccine, if they're going to add this little bonus.
So you're saying we might have to change plans and opt out of the whole guillotine thing?
No, I'm just saying there might be a little torture involved before the guillotine. A ritualistic torture. It just depends how fast or how big of a hurry they're in. I mean, they're not going to be able to do this for everybody, because they've got to process large amounts of people.
Right, and they may be short-staffed. I don't know if those people can show up for work in the middle of a pandemic or not, but it seems like...
yes, they're essential workers.
Okay, all right, so they don't spread the disease.
No, they're not super spreaders.
So before that, they're talking about non-lethal things like the elimination of cash, right? Because we know cash could have a germ on it, so it gets really dangerous. And that's supposed to be replaced by a government-issued digital currency, right? Well, actually not government, but probably central bank issued.
I think there may be that market, but if I was a betting woman, and I don't bet, but if I was a betting woman, this hydrogel and quantum dot has the capability to handle all your financial transactions, because you're one with the quantum computer. So
that would allow them to eliminate cash, right?
Right. You don't need a laptop. You don't need cash. You don't need a cell phone. You don't need a wearable. You don't need a bank. You just deal direct with...
You're generating the power to run the system yourself, right?
Yes.
So if the electric grid goes down, your money is still available.
Yeah, but you might not have any place to spend it. But
well, no, but it's good to know that you're still rich, right?
I guess.
And that, as long as you comply with everything. I think it's conditional universal basic income, from what I understand. And I guess there also, if you're not compliant, then there's things like not being able to leave your home until you become compliant.
That there's 2 scenarios that can play out. One, that you can't leave your home, that you would be laid siege to. But now there's a new thing that has been emerging over the last month to oust you from your home or your rental, whatever you call home, if you're not compliant, and remove you to these centers because you were a menace to society.
One of the elements of the conversation in Canada that was going on in the situation that I mentioned was forgiveness of all debts. You know, what people have been demonstrating for the various elements of the communist people that want the revolution have been demonstrating for forgive the debts. You know, I mean, why should anybody have debts? All you have to do is declare that there aren't any and it's over. And so the Canadian government was saying, yeah, apparently they're willing to do that. And all you have to do in exchange is agree that you give them all private property and all future right to have any private property. And you just keep whatever you have. It's just not yours, so it doesn't make any difference. And they would never abuse that right at all. They just own everything.
Well, they almost do anyway right now.
Yeah, true. It's not that much different. Looking down the list of things that were put into the objectives for that program, I guess it would involve, once you lose private property, of being in a permanent lifelong emergency state. So you don't have to worry about rights and freedoms because you don't have those either. And I think this whole situation is based on the idea that by declaring an emergency, nobody has any rights anyway, except the ones who declare the emergency. So we're in the middle of that now. It's kind of against the idea that the American founders have, that they had this word unalienable, right? That no matter what happened, even if the government went crazy or disappeared or whatever, nothing affects your rights. And they're figuring that Americans are well enough educated now that they won't have any idea about that. That they'll see nothing wrong with the picture of declaring emergencies.
I think you used educated, but it's more indoctrinated.
That's education right now, but at the moment, all school is moving to online, I think, for kids, right?
Everything is moving online.
Yeah. So what do you see happening to all the school buildings?
You know, they were wired with 5G, so you just wonder what purpose they are going to serve.
That was what I was wondering, yeah. Because if nobody's going to be in them, why would they want to do that?
They could be the distributing center for the vaccine, because they want us to have continual vaccines.
Yeah, it's not. And in the beginning, they said just one, and then they got all excited and said, wait a minute. If we can do one, why in the world would we stop at one? You know, and then they probably had a debate saying, well, yeah, I think we should do one a month. And the other one says, well, one a month, that's nothing. We should do one a week. And, you know, one every 10 minutes, or I don't know where they stopped with that. But yeah, they're multiple vaccines.
So they do at this point need to be refrigerated. So a school would work out fine for that because they have refrigeration there. And it could not house people, but you know, it has room for people. So instead of voting at the school, you'd get your vaccine, your shot.
I've also noticed that this is a perfect setup for the centralization of food supply as well, which means that we can get the latest GMO foods of all kinds, you know, for everybody, and the small suppliers would be eliminated.
But don't forget, because of this, the UN wants to sell food at 1/1000th of a calorie, and DARPA wants to sell food at 1,000th of a calorie.
What does that mean?
That means that's what your access to food is going to be as we get deeper into this. 1/1000th of a calorie is what you're going to be buying food at.
You mean that's the units of purchase?
Yeah, yeah.
Right. Like if you want 5 units.
$5 for 1/1000th of a calorie. You can't.
That could have some severe consequences if they do that.
Yes, like death. Imagine.
Yeah, that's basically just saying fast.
Yeah.
Interesting. But I guess it would save the planet, right? Because it would really lower the carbon footprint to have no food production.
That's what they say.
Yeah.
But, you know, there were times that there was no food production and the planet survived just fine. And they had these periods of hot and cold and all these different things. But let's not learn from history and the cycles and the geologic evidence and the cosmic evidence of cycles. Let's just make up our own fantasy thing.
Yeah. Although I have to say, you know, from what I've been able to tell, there's definitely man-made climate disruption going on almost every day over the world now in geoengineering. And they're still working on that. I don't know what they're accomplishing exactly, but I think droughts and unusual swings in temperature, that sort of thing, and forest fires. The fires they've been able to make much more intense with the explosive metal dust.
Yes.
Right. So obviously it's climate change. I would expect that they would outlaw things like animal agriculture, and self-defense would become a hate crime, things like that, in the transition period while there's still humans around.
Yeah, if you go to the World Economic Forum, it's all vegan. There is, you know, there's really going to be clamping down. I actually went on Friday, I went up to the nearest city and to get hamburger.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know how much hamburger is right now?
At your grocery store somewhere you're talking about?
Yeah, up in the city.
No, I have no idea.
$18 a pound.
Whoa.
$18 a pound.
And
I mean, you used to be able to get the best steak for $18 a pound.
That's not organic hamburger, is it? It's just regular old hamburger.
Just regular hamburger.
Wow, that's amazing. I remember that being less than $1, actually.
So
that was a little while ago.
I mean, like chuck steaks were like 50 cents a pound, you know.
Right.
And if you got them on special, 25 cents a pound. But yeah. I'm dating myself.
Yeah, well, I mean, food prices have to go way up as the supply decreases, right? And I think they're saying on the mainstream media that the virus is so terrible, it's wiping out food production. But actually, it's not actually the virus.
No, it's an agenda. It's the agenda. And anybody can go see it. If you go to the World Economic Forum, I think it's under the public good, under platforms. If so, you go to World Economic Forum, you go to platforms, you go to public good, and that's where you'll find the goods on the food supply and what they're doing.
For the new people who don't know what a World Economic Forum is, you want to introduce them to that?
So basically, that is a group of elite people that have the agenda. And so it's like 250 different layers deep. And why COVID was released was to disrupt and stop the world and the old world the way that we knew it, and to integrate the new world order and the new system of things. And that affects everything from agriculture to manufacturing to currency to healthcare, relationships, arts and entertainment, every single thing that society has. And sorry, I guess I'm a little bit froggy with this cold weather.
No, it's COVID-19.
No. I feel too good to have that.
Yeah, but you coughed.
No, it's my sinuses all mucky. I don't know what that's all
That's
about.
okay. Sorry for the distraction.
Yeah,
I think it's good for people to know about what the World Economic Forum is, and I assume it's under the general umbrella of the UN, right?
Yes. They are hand in hand. So that goes with the UN Sustainable Millennial Goals, or Millennial Sustainable Goals, or whatever.
Okay. Now in the UN, the vast majority of their huge number of employees are good people who think they're working for the benefit of the world. I've met a lot of them. And they don't realize, and they can't really comprehend or don't want to, that at the top, that's not exactly friendly. And they have other agendas going on. I would imagine it may be similar with the World Economic Forum. Do you think so?
I don't know that there's... I think they believe in their cause, but I feel that they're control socialists, and they have a big, they have a lot of financial stake in this to depopulate and make money, drain our pockets and fill theirs through this whole process.
So, but most people other than the top rulers kind of want to carry around a self-image that they're a good person, right? Yeah, and I would imagine the mid to low level people involved in that probably have some self-justification that they're doing something beneficial on some level.
But we have to think back. I think probably Stalin, Hitler, Mao, they probably thought they were good people too.
I'm sure they did. I mean, if you read what they wrote, they were only getting rid of the bad people. Not anybody was good. I think every dictator is, that level of dictator has said the same thing. And if most of the people now are bad people, then it's not their fault. They're just public servants. So
they're just doing their job.
That's right.
Just doing their job. If I hear that one more time, now I don't even go into any store because they won't let me, but it was, I'm just doing my job. Well, exactly. That's my family was killed by people just doing their job.
Right, right. So looking at the different levels of how people respond to that mentality, you've got the general public who, puts on the mask or does whatever they're told. And I think they feel like they're obeying the authorities because the authorities know what's best. And they're just a regular old person, so they don't know, right? And why doesn't everybody realize you should just follow orders? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I think that something like that mentality in the general public. And then above that, the people who run the businesses and things that are kicking you out or preventing you from entering, they're probably thinking something similar, right? That they should, be obeying the medical experts and people like that. And why are you objecting?
So what my burning question is this is across the board now. I mean, it used to be you could go to a store or here or there, you could conduct some business. It was difficult, but you could. Mm-hmm. Now it's blanket. Either you wear a mask. So I lost my glasses in the harvest season. I needed another pair of glasses. I call the ophthalmologist. The ophthalmologist says you can't come in with. I said, can I not wear a mask because I get sick? I'll die from a mask.
Right.
And she goes, no, it's our policy. Now, nobody has been able to ask me because everybody has the same policy. It doesn't matter. It could be a doctor. It could be any kind of business, lawnmower repair. They're all doing it. They've all got the plexiglass sheets there for a while.
Yeah.
Now the plexiglass sheets are going up again. But who is making this policy? At first I thought it is the individual business making this policy, but this is too cookie cutter. This is signature. And this is also not fear from getting fined or being closed down. This is a public-private partnership. This is the very definition of fascism. The private business and industry has merged with government. It is one. And nobody can answer that question. Who is making this policy? They just said, it's our policy. And then that you are not allowed to ask, okay, can I talk to the person that made that policy? They will not let you.
Right. And how do you know they're not just afraid of being shut down? What tells you that?
Because it's too uniform. It doesn't matter. It would be different, like your neighborhood lawnmower service guy would have a different policy than Costco, but they're all the same and they all treat the people the same. It's just all like talking points, government talking points.
And there's a general theme of separation, like you said, not just from the policymaker, but from the boss of any organization, including government. You can't go see them anymore. I don't, sheriffs and police and fire people, and it's too dangerous to see them in person.
So one interesting thing that the viewers might want to know is that so back in about 2006 and 2007, the politicians knew this day was coming. So you know what they installed in their offices at every capital?
What?
Panic buttons, like at the bank. Like if a teller is being held up, there's a button to push and calls law enforcement. Every single representative and senator has panic buttons to call law enforcement. And this was what, almost 20 years ago.
Wow. So in other words, if a constituent or a regular human of some kind tries to come in your office in person and endanger everybody, then they can hit the panic button and have them removed, I guess.
Or even if you want to say, why did you vote for this? Or I want you to, like, I feel like going down the voter pamphlet and say, I will vote for anybody that gets rid of the mask, the testing, and the vaccination. You promise me, and I want a commitment. You know, I'm going to hold your feet to the fire. But if you promise me those things, I'll vote for you.
Right.
And, you know.
You have a real simple job on voting day if that's what you're doing.
Yeah, I know.
I've been calling politicians lately and talking to them, and on all different levels from federal down to local, and say, you know, are you even willing to look at what's really happening? And generally 999 times out of 1,000, they say no, you know, or they won't talk to you at all. And I found a couple of them that will, and they're afraid of being assassinated because they're open to it.
Yeah.
But, you know, there's no platform that I know of for communication that is really private anymore.
No,
I really wonder about, you know, Edward Snowden recommended Signal and said that was the only one he knew that was private. But I would be surprised if it really is.
Yeah, I think we just, if we're going to communicate, and we have to because we're human. I think even if it costs us our life, we have to communicate.
I think that's true, you know, so you just say, okay, sometimes when I'm on a call, you know, and I think on video or audio, and I think I know we're being listened to, I talk to the people who are listening to us.
Yes.
And say, you know, you should think about what you're doing, and it's not good for you to do bad things to other people intentionally. There are laws of nature that you didn't get taught by your bosses. And it's like, you know, you can't do anything without cause and effect applying. So if you want to have good things happen to you, the only way in the long run to do that is make sure you do them for everybody else. And cutting off their speech is not one of the ways to do it. It's not that they'd necessarily care, but I feel like we have to tell the truth, you know, and just keep doing it regardless, whatever happens. But I think one thing is, if you don't have malice for anybody, you're not hating anybody at all, it's harder on an energy level for them to click into targeting you because you don't hate them.
No, but they are
A different attitude.
I think that these people are not becoming less human by the day.
Yeah.
It doesn't, kindness or no malice doesn't even touch them. It is the most peculiar thing. I wish you could see the mountains right now. I've got these snowy mountains, and I've got the alpenglow right now of the sunset.
Wow, it must be beautiful.
It's beautiful.
If anybody of any type could notice the beauty of nature, I think that would be the end of all the conflict. You have to not see stuff like that to stay on the dark side of things.
And speaking of which, I've got a new book that's coming out.
Wow, I'd like to hear about that.
It's homestead cooking. And I've, you know, my passion is organic gardening.
Yes.
And I love to cook, and I do everything from scratch, and I grow all the ingredients myself. And so I had a lot of requests, and I, of course, give classes at celestialreport.com. You can join me over there, but
Okay.
It's homestead cooking. It's going to be out it should be live in a few days on Amazon.
Okay.
And also at shepherdsheart.life, I'll be putting it up there too. So
Are there hard copies, paper copies, in addition to
yes, both
electronic?
hard copy. Well, it's paperback and
Yeah,
also
ebook too.
ebook. Yeah.
Okay. And Amazon's still letting you be up there. Oh, that's great.
Well, so far I haven't done anything, electromagnetic radiation protection solutions isn't too threatening, and
Right, right.
Seven Thunders Revealed isn't too threatening.
And
And
cooking food is not too
well,
terrifying.
until it becomes politically incorrect to eat. So,
Right, 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 right. Not following proper GMO procedures and things like that.
yeah.
So what are you doing for classes now? What are you teaching?
So my next class is going to be November 11th, and I'm going to teach soap making from scratch, the
Okay.
whole body method. And I thought about doing goat milk soap, but I think I'm going to just do Castile. And why would I do that? Because Castile, you only need lye, oil, and water. And
Oh,
in the
good.
days to come, you may not have access to goat milk. So
Right,
then
right.
there's also some other ingredients like coconut oil, jojoba oil, palm oil in these other soaps. They're more luxury bars. But in the
Mhm.
days that we're going into, we may only have the basics. And you can make, if you get two of those big gallon things at Costco of oil, you can make about 50 bars of soap, and you can put an aroma in, essential oils. You can color them if you like.
Right.
But it's a very simple, it's very silky suds, very nice.
What
And
kind of
so
oil do you use for that?
olive oil.
Okay, okay. Ah, it sounds beautiful.
Yeah.
So what's on your site these days? What are the things that people can look for there?
So right now I'm doing this series on color, the restructuring of color. Color has actually been restructured, and the
What
thread.
what does that mean? Color's been
Uh,
restructured.
so in nature, we see color, and we think it's pretty straightforward. But if you ever look like at a rainbow and you look at it at one angle and you see different colors than at the other angle, or
Right.
feathers or butterfly wings or hummingbirds, if they turn one way, they look one color. If they turn another way, they look another.
Yeah.
So basically, the using biomimicry, the nefarious dark people
Hmm.
have been busy restructuring color for purposes of camouflage, and also the hydrogel and quantum dot are restructuring. And in today's article at shepherdsheart.life, I put in about the hydrogel in contact lenses and the different things that how they are restructuring the color, and how dangerous it is, and what they're doing to our bodies in making us not human. They're basically retooling and rewiring our bodies to change us from a biological human to a robotic synthetic entity, is what they're in the process of doing. So that's what I'm doing. It's a series. It's probably going to be about 6 parts, and today
Hmm.
was part 2. So
Okay. These are articles that'll be in sequence, right?
yes, yes.
Okay.
So I have the first 2 up, and the next, I'll probably take tomorrow off, and then get started again on it next week. And then I'm also going to be doing some videos on it, because some people get their news from reading
Mhm.
articles and other people get it from videos. So I will be
Right.
doing some videos on it.
Okay. And what happens in your private group? What's going on there these days?
So we have a community that will be starting back up, and we have Q&As. And like I said, there's the classes, and I do flash classes. I have been doing I just took a master business class, and so they got us into really doing a lot of updates and giving people behind the scenes. So like this morning, I showed I took my camera out and showed the chicken coop, and I make spaghetti for my chickens during the cold weather because they think of it like a worm, and they go after it like it's a bunch of worms.
Right.
And it's really kind of fun. And people don't, I mean, I take it for granted because I see the chickens every day, but not everybody gets to see those chickens every day.
I thought I was relatively aware of what's going on, and I had no idea that chickens like spaghetti. That's
they
incredible.
think of it like a worm. They'll go nuts over it. And they make their happy noises, like people have happy noises.
I know. I've been around chickens.
And chickens do too.
Yeah. Wow. So what's the format of meeting in your private club? You said it's coming back. Is it on hold right now? Or are you taking a break from it?
Just took a couple weeks off while I finished up my class, and also the platform changed. We changed from Patreon, and there was a lot of censorship there.
Okay.
And I just found out that Patreon is ousting anybody that is not pro pedophilia.
Really?
That may be
now. Most people think Patreon is just a system where people can donate to your operation.
No, they have an agenda. Black Lives Matter. That's what we primarily noticed, is that because we were not Black creators, I was not a Black creator, I was a second-class citizen. I couldn't even get technical support. It took 3 months for me to get a notification that a patron had left a message. And my articles would disappear. A patron would be like writing a comment, and it would just disappear right in front of their eyes. And they blame me for censorship.
Wow.
And it's like, come on, I'm not censoring.
So this is advanced AI of some kind, right?
Yeah. And then today I found out that they have a pro-pedophile agenda. So they are ousting anybody that doesn't agree with that.
So you're on a totally different system now.
Yeah, so I'm on a new system. So my videos are at celestialreport.com.
Okay.
And my articles are at shepherdsheart.life.
Celestialreport.com and shepherdsheart.life. Okay, and when are you about to start up your meetings again, your private meetings?
Yes, in a week. And also I'm going to have monthly webinars, and I'm going to start offering some premier services and an inner circle for people that want to be mentored in specific areas. And so I have to develop those two things over the next month.
Okay.
And then I'm going to open it up and see how it goes.
Yeah, that would be great. And where do people find out about those when they're ready?
So I'll be making announcements on YouTube and also at Celestial Report. You can also always contact me at celestialreport.com, and I can answer any questions. If you want to be on the list, you can. I think you can go to Celestial Report, and it'll have something that you can sign up to be on the list for notifications. And then I do send out notifications, teachings, and because it was harvest season, I was really bad with communicating with folks. But now that the season's over, now I'm going to be chit-chatty and lots to talk about, and encouraging and inspiring. I think I will cover the news, but I think most of us need encouraging and inspiring these days.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's going to get really important. And during the winter, it's easier for you to take time for communications and stuff too anyway, right?
Yes, because like the 2 months from August till now, oh goodness.
Yeah, harvest.
Yeah,
and you're the whole crew.
I'm the whole crew. Mississippi doesn't help much.
Right, exactly. Okay, I'm just trying to think of anything we missed, because I think the last point that you brought up is the most important. With all this unusual stuff happening, people need positive energy and uplifting encouragement, things like that. So they can get in touch with you personally through the email, and they can go to celestialreport.com and participate as soon as that's open again for the meetings. hopefully within a week or so.
Oh, it's the first get back together is Q&A is going to be on the 2nd.
Okay.
It's either the 2nd, whatever the first Tuesday of November is.
Okay, so about 10 days or so.
Yeah, and also if any of the viewers do Facebook, I post videos, encouraging things, inspiring things. I do an image for the soul. I show little like cooking stuff, walks with the dog, what's happening in the garden, that type of thing.
Great.
So they can check me out at Celeste Bishop. That was my old name, but you can't change on Facebook. So it's Celeste Bishop at Facebook, and then you can see what I'm up to. And
that'd be great. Kind of share the farm with you a little bit.
Yeah, and my kitchen. People like to see my behind the scenes. I show you my studio, my war room, that type of thing. All the chaos.
You have snow on the ground already or not?
Yeah, I got 2 feet last night, and I already had snow on the ground. So I've already.
What elevation are you at?
Marks are buried.
I would like to see. What elevation is your place at?
4,000.
4,000 and up north. So.
Yeah.
And you said it was going to be below zero tonight where you are?
-10.
Wow, that's really cold.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's windy and below zero, that can be dangerous to walk around in.
Well, I'm not going to be out there at night. I can assure you.
Good idea. Yeah. And you have crops growing during the winter inside under lights, right?
Yes.
But that's not so much work to take care of.
No.
Okay. Well, I hope everybody's going to get ready to join your first get together. That should be great. And I think you hit on a balance that's really important, to stay aware of what's going on, for just, sound strategic responses and knowing not to get blindsided by things. But beyond that, keep your emotional connection and anything that's uplifting and beautiful and inspiring, and live in that no matter what's going on.
Absolutely. And we can do it and touch somebody's life. We've got to fight this is a war against humanity, and we need to keep our humanity, do something kind, reach out, call somebody, make a meal for somebody, send a card to somebody, reach out beyond yourself.
Yeah.
It's really important.
And if internally you're living in that good energy, that has a tendency to affect physical things too.
Yes.
It's
contagious. It's the good type of contagion.
Exactly. And there's no cure for it.
And that's good.
Right. But one more question. Where did you end up getting your glasses? Because apparently
I haven't got them yet.
You're just using some old ones now.
I'm just ordering some ordering over the phone.
Right. The generic type.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. That was great. Be fun to do some more soon, and keep everybody in good spirits no matter what happens. And if we do that long enough, things will turn around.
Yes, absolutely. I believe at the end of this, I think we're in for some really hard times, but at the end of that, I think it's going to be really good.
Yeah, longer term future is guaranteed.
Yes.
Okay, well, stay warm enough tonight.
Okay.
We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, bye.
See ya. Okay, you guys, that was Celeste Solum, and great asset to humanity, I think, right now, and helping to keep that delicate balance of awareness of what's going on in the world, but internally not living in it. I mean, I don't mean ignoring it at all, because you want to be aware of what's going on so that when you have to make decisions, they're with awareness of what is a good idea and what's dangerous, and, how to negotiate through the times that are developing right now. But aside from that awareness, that strategic, having your eyes open, where you live emotionally is really critical. And I know from a health point of view, your optimism or pessimism, and it's emotional that matters, not the words. That is really critical for what happens to your physical body. And it's a very useful thing to keep your physical body in good shape. One of the strongest ways to do that doesn't cost any money at all is keep your emotional attention focused on what makes you feel happy and uplifted. And it took me a long time to understand that. I was really dense and slow, like I've been with a lot of things, but it's very true. And your cells are alive and they pay attention to you, the person living inside the body. And when you keep your emotional focus on something that makes you feel good, your immune system is better, your whole physical body functions better, you have more energy, stronger, you sleep better, everything is good. And then you combine that with some intelligent physical protocols to keep yourself in as good shape as you can, exercise, sleep, and sunlight, and all the usual stuff. Then we're more useful to everybody else. So take care of yourself, as top priority as much as you can under the circumstances, and then it gets shared in whatever it is you're doing. So remember to look at the sites, shepherdsheart.life and celestialreport.com, and you can sign up for Celeste private meetings and communicate with her by email. These resources are really good to know about. She's got a lot of great information. So thanks for being with us, and appreciate those of you that are having the assets to support Lost Arts Radio and keep us on the air for as long as we can. Donate buttons at lostartsradio.com and at lostartsresearchinstitute.org, also at subscribestar.com/lostartsradio. And stay in touch with us. You can reach me at richard@lostartsradio.com. Guest suggestions, any kind of comments or feedback or anything like that, I read all of them. And what else? What did I forget to tell you? Half an hour from now we have, or actually a couple minutes less than half an hour, we have our meeting of planetaryhealingclub.com, and that's where interactive, we meet live half an hour after the Lost Arts Radio live show every week, and we talk about all these things in greater depth, things that you can actually do and use yourself to regain and maintain your physical health in different situations, and consciousness tools to make it much easier to do that, relevance of things that are happening in the world, whatever you want to talk about. And that's at planetaryhealingclub.com if you want access, just for people that really want to start getting to the deeper levels of all these things. And we're there live every week, in case that interests you. So thank you. I really appreciate your participation, and I still consider you to be the key for the turning point that Celeste talks about. If we stay in a good space internally, whatever we have to do on the outside, and we do that and don't waver, it's us that have to turn this around, and I think it's you. So you have this massive power. That is probably the main message of the show, is that you're not the helpless, limited being that the media tells you you are every day, having to rely on experts to run your life and all that stuff. Just bring back common sense, get back in touch with it, get back in touch with who you are, get your health back, learn the real health information to do that that's suppressed in the media now, and see what your potential is. It's pretty exciting when you start doing that. So thanks for joining us. Come to the Planetary Healing Club if you want to. And otherwise, remember, tomorrow night we have a show every Sunday, and that's educational, inspiring guests. And tomorrow's going to be incredible too. So I hope you're there. And take care of yourself. I think that's about the bottom line. And we'll see you next time. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you. Talk to you soon.